On a humid Thursday morning in Lagos, Nigeria, the sound of a kettle whistling filled the small kitchen. The ceiling fan clicked with each rotation, pushing hot air around the cramped room. 5-year-old Zainab sat cross-legged in front of the old television, singing along to a cartoon. Her older brother, Kwame, 8 years old, was already dressed for school, proudly showing the gap in his teeth whenever he smiled. Their mother, Amina, stood by the sink, her hands busy drying plates, her mind already racing about how to stretch the last few naira until Friday. She didn't know that this ordinary morning would split her life in two, the life she had before and the life she would have after. Her husband, Obinna, walked into the kitchen, sharp in his navy blue suit, polished shoes clicking against the floor. The scent of his cologne filled the air even before his voice did. "I'll be back on Sunday night," he said, brushing a crumb from his tie as though it were the only problem he had. "It's just a quick business trip." Amina looked up from her chipped mug. "You didn't tell me about any trip." "It came up last minute," he replied smoothly. "You know how clients are." Kwame ran in, backpack slipping off his small shoulder. "Papa, will you come to my game on Saturday? Coach said I might pitch." His eyes sparkled with hope. Obinna gave him the same smile he always wore in photos. Perfect, practiced, but shallow. He bent to ruffle his son's hair. "If I'm back in time, I'll try." Amina held his gaze. "Try?" she asked softly. He kissed the air near her cheek, not a real kiss, then grabbed his suitcase. Zainab toddled over, wrapping both arms around his leg. "Papa, bring me a lollipop, a pink one." "I'll bring you 10, he said, peeling her little fingers away. 2 minutes later, he was gone, the wheels of his suitcase whispering across the floor, the door clicking shut behind him. That sound stayed in Amina's ears longer than the cologne did. At first, she told herself not to worry. Men took trips. Husbands worked late. Families managed. But as she spread peanut butter on bread for Kwame's lunch, a chill settled in her chest. It wasn't the kind of quiet before peace. It was the kind of quiet before a storm. By Saturday, Kwame pitched beautifully under a gray sky. He struck out a boy twice his size. Amina clapped and shouted until her voice grew hoarse. But Kwame kept looking at the sideline, hoping to hear the words, "That's my boy." The words never came. Sunday night, Amina waited by the window. The street grew darker, quieter. No suit, no suitcase, no husband. By Monday morning, she was dialing his office only to hear the words that shattered her. "Obinna no longer works here. He left 2 weeks ago." Her hands trembled. He hadn't gone on a trip, he had gone for good. Days blurred into weeks. Bills piled up. Amina fought to keep the children steady, hiding her heartbreak behind a smile so her children wouldn't see her drown. But late at night, when silence wrapped around the house, the truth echoed louder than the fans clicking. Obinna had abandoned them. 5 years passed. Years filled with double shifts, skipped meals, and nights Amina stayed awake counting coins to keep the lights on. Kwame grew tall, his voice deepening. Zainab grew into a sharp-eyed girl with her father's hair, but her mother's resilience. Amina had built a new spine she never knew she had. Then one Tuesday afternoon, an envelope arrived. Thick, cream-colored paper with handwriting she knew too well. Obinna's slanted letters. She opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a wedding invitation. Obinna was marrying another woman, Ngozi, a wealthy businesswoman's daughter. And scrawled at the bottom in his handwriting, "It would mean a lot to me if you attended." Amina's laugh was sharp and bitter. The man who had left his children hungry now wanted her to clap at his wedding. Her best friend, Fatima, shook her head when she saw the invitation. "Sister, don't go. He doesn't deserve to see you." But Amina's eyes burned with something deeper. "I want him to see me, not broken, not begging, just me." On the morning of the wedding, she wore a simple black dress and the pearl earrings her grandmother once gave her. No heavy makeup, no jewels. She wasn't there to compete. She was there for truth. The hall in Abuja was dripping with wealth. White roses, gold ribbons, chandeliers that glittered like frozen stars. Guests whispered in English and Hausa, fanning themselves against the heat. Obinna stood at the altar in a tailored suit, smiling like he'd never known struggle. Beside him, Ngozi radiated beauty in silk, her smile wide and polished. Then Amina walked in. The music faltered. Guests turned. Murmurs rippled through the hall. Obinna's laughter stopped mid-breath, his face draining of color. He looked like he had seen a ghost. Amina's heels clicked slowly down the aisle. She didn't rush. She didn't smile. "Hello, Obinna," she said softly, but her voice carried across the room. The guests froze. Ngozi's smile wavered. "You look surprised," Amina said. "But why should you? You invited me." "Obinna?" Ngozi asked, panic creeping into her voice. "It's complicated," he stammered. Amina's laugh was cold. "No, it's simple. 5 years ago, this man abandoned me and our 2 children. He left without a word. No food, no money, just vanished." Gasps swept the room. Someone muttered, "Children?" Ngozi's eyes widened. "You never told me you had children," she cried. Amina reached into her small purse and pulled out a folded paper. She handed it to Ngozi. "This is a copy of my marriage certificate. Legally, I am still his wife." The hall erupted. Some gasped, some whispered fiercely. Ngozi's hands trembled as she held the paper. "You lied to me," she whispered to Obinna. "You lied to everyone here." "I thought," Obinna began, but Amina's voice rose, steady and sharp. "You thought of no one but yourself. While I worked 2 jobs to feed Kwame and Zainab, you built a palace of lies. And now, the truth has caught you." Ngozi pulled her hand from his grasp. "This wedding is over." She lifted her gown and walked out, her family following behind her. Obinna turned to Amina, his face twisted with anger and shame. "You didn't have to humiliate me like this." Amina stepped close, her words low but lethal. "I wanted you to feel, for 5 minutes, what I felt for 5 years. She turned and walked out, the crowd parting as though she carried fire in her hands. Outside, the sun beat down, but Amina felt lighter than she had in years. She didn't smile, didn't celebrate. She simply breathed. And for the first time since that Thursday morning 5 years ago, the air didn't burn her lungs. In the weeks that followed, Obinna's name was dragged through the dust. His business deals collapsed. His new life crumbled before it even began. Amina, meanwhile, went on raising her children with dignity, strength, and a quiet fire. One evening, Kwame pitched at a school game. Amina clapped so loudly her hands stung. Zainab tugged her sleeve and whispered, "Mama, did you clap loud enough for Papa too?" Amina kissed her forehead. "No, my child. I clapped loud enough for us." And as the sun dipped below the Lagos skyline, she knew the truth. Betrayal may break a marriage, but it cannot break the spirit of a woman who refuses to bend.